Good morning, students. How are you? I think you all are well and safe at your home. Yes, now let's start study. Today we will discuss here the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. Let me first clear you the topic. First of all, we have the word here reproduction. What reproduction means, it is the biological process. It is completely the biological process in which the living organism produces the offsprings of their own kind. Okay, and here we are going to discuss about the sexual reproduction, the process in which the reproduction is being taking place by the two organisms, means the male and the female organism, and the fusion of the male and the female gametes takes place. Here we are doing the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Flowering plants means angiosperms. Angiosperms are the flowering plants in which the flower are the reproductive unit that takes part in the process of the sexual reproduction. So let's first, before starting, we'll discuss the structure of the flower. We already studied this structure in class 10th also. Now once again, this first of all, the flower is being attached with the plant with the help of the stem that is called the stalk or the pedicle. Okay, and then we have the green leaf-like structure at the base of the flower that are called sepals. Sepals are green in color. They help to protect the flower as well as they also help in the process of photosynthesis. Then we have the colorful petals on the flower. These colorful structure is called the petals. These used to attract the insects and is also helpful in the process of pollination. Next, in the center we are having this structure. This is called carpel. It is being divided into three parts: stigma, style and ovary. Stigma is the upper part that used to receive the pollen grain. Okay, pollen grains means the male gamete. Understood? Next, it is the style where the pollen tube formation takes place, and it is the ovary, the basal part, that is called the ovary, where the process of the fertilization takes place. Okay, then this is the part. Here we can say this, the stamen, it is the male part of the flower. It is again divided into two parts, anther and filament. Anther part where the pollen grain formation takes place, and filament is the part that used to attach the anther with the flower. This is all about our reproductive unit, means the flower. Is it clear? Now let's start with the reproduction. Reproduction process is being divided into three parts. The first one, pre-fertilization, then fertilization, and then the last one is post-fertilization. Firstly, we'll start with the pre-fertilization. Pre-fertilization means the process that takes place before the fertilization. Okay, pre-fertilization means the process that takes place before the fertilization. Before the fertilization, there will be the formation of the male and the female gamete. Male and the female gamete means the male reproductive part. I already told you it is a stamen. Clear? And the complete whole of the stamen, we call it androecium. Is it clear? Complete whole means all the stamens join together to form the reproductive unit and of the male reproductive unit, and we call it androecium. Understood? And the carpel, that is the female reproductive part, it is called the gynoecium. Clear? Androecium used to produce the male gametes and the gynoecium used to produce the female gamete. Okay, now we'll discuss the formation of the male gamete. The process of the formation of the male gamete we are discussing here. We will continue with it with the three steps. The first one will study the structure of the stamen. Then the second will study the microsporangium, the structure that is taking place in the stamen, and the third one is the pollen grain formation, the main part. Okay, the firstly it is with the stamen. I already told you that the stamen, it is being divided into two parts, the anther and the filament. Okay, so the stamen is being divided into two parts. It is the anther part and it is the stamen part, filament part. Anther part, it is the bilobed structure. You can see it, there are the two lobes. It is the bilobed structure and it is diathecous. Diathecous means each lobe is having the two theca. Understood? Means the two chambers are there in each lobe. Getting what I am telling you? Here the anther is the bilobed structure. It means it is having the two lobes and each lobe is having the two chambers, means two theca. So it is diathecous, means each lobe with two theca. Now it is a transverse section. If I cut the anther in this way, then it will look like this, something like this it will look. It will having the two lobes are there, and each lobe is having the two theca. It means it is a tetrad condition, means four chambers are there. Understood? Now these four chambers are the chambers in which the pollen grain formation takes place. Here the pollen grains will be formed. Okay, now we will study the structure of this tetrad. Here it has been having the four layers. The first one, it is the epidermis. Epidermis, it helps in the protection of the whole pollen grain. Okay, the next one we have the middle layer, that is next one endothecum. Endothecum, it is helpful in the process of dehiscence. Dehiscence means when the pollen grain will be mature out, then it will be released out from the pollen sac, and for releasing out from the pollen sac, the endothecum will be burst out so that the pollen grains will be released out. Then we have the next layer, that is called the middle layer. It will degenerate at the time of dehiscence. Okay, and the last one, it is the tapetum. Tapetum is the innermost layer and is the most important because it provides the nourishment to the developing pollen grains, means the pollen grains that will form in the pollen sac, and these pollen grains will get the nourishment from the layer that is called tapetum. Okay, now after this all it is being formed of the tissues, special tissues that are called the sporogenous tissues, and at the time of the male gamete formation, these sporogenous tissues will go the meiotic division. Okay, whenever the male and the female gamete formation takes place, we always go through the meiotic division, means the meiosis process. Now these sporogenous tissues will undergo the meiotic division to form the microspore tetrad, and these microspore tetrad only helpful further for the formation of the pollen grains. Now we'll study the structure of the pollen grains. Now here it is the one pollen grain. Understood? Now the microspore tetrad, this pollen grain is being formed of the two layers. That outer layer is the exine and the inner layer is the entine. Outer layer exine, it is made up of this special protein that is called sporopollenin. Sporopollenin, it is the protein that cannot be degenerate with any of the enzyme. Clear? So it means it will help for the protection of the pollen grains in any of the harsh condition, in alkaline medium, in acidic medium, or in any physical process, anything, it will be protect the pollen grains. So that's why only the pollen grains are being preserved as the fossils also. The next one we have the inner layer, it is entine. It is made up of cellulose and pectin. It in some other plants it can be other also chemical, but mainly it is made up of cellulose and pectin only. It is generally of the size of 25 to 30 micrometer. Okay, it is the diameter of the one pollen grain. Now after that the pollen grain will go the meiotic division, and at the time of the meiotic division it will be divided into two parts, the vegetative cell and the generative cell. The vegetative part, it is very abundant in the food reserve, and the generative part will divide mitotically to give the male gametes. Means this from the generative cell part, the mitotic division will take place and we will get the two male gametes, and this two male gametes will be formed before the pollen grain is shed from the plant. Understood? This is all the process of the formation of the pollen grains. Thank you. Revise well, learn well. Hello students, in the previous class I already started the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants, and in that class I explained you that this is the structure of the flower. I told you that the angiosperms are the flowering plants, and these are the structures that I already described you in the previous class. Now we started with the process of reproduction. I told you that the reproduction is being occur in the three phases: the pre-fertilization, fertilization, and the post-fertilization phase. And we already started the pre-fertilization phase. Pre-fertilization means the process that begins before the fertilization, and before the fertilization there is the formation of the male and the female gamete. I told you the formation of the male gamete in the three subheadings: the structure of the stamen, microsporogenesis, and the pollen grain formation. Now I also told you the structure of the stamen, that the stamen is being divided into two parts: anther and the filament. Anther is the part where the pollen grains formation takes place. I told you the structure of the anther in that class. And the microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis means the formation of the microspore from the microspore mother cell. I hope you remember all it. Now we'll start with the today's class, means the second part of the same chapter, that is the female gamete formation. Female gamete formation means that the formation of the female gamete. Again I am going to start in the three subheadings. The first one, the pistil. Pistil is the male reproductive part. Relate it with the male reproductive part. You studied that stamen is the male reproductive part. Okay, and now the pistil is the female reproductive part. The formation of the microspore is in the male reproductive part. Now formation of the female means megaspores is in the female reproductive part, means megasporogenesis. There you studied the pollen grain formation, and here you are studying the embryo sac formation. Okay, now the first we'll start with the pistil. Pistil, we can also say it carpel. It is been divided into three parts: stigma, style and ovary. There are the three parts of the pistil: stigma, style and ovary. This stigma part used to receive the pollen grain, means this is the part that is receiving the pollen grain, that the pollen grain that the coming from the anther. Now the next is the style part. Style is the part that connect stigma with the ovary, and the third part, it is the ovary where the ovules formation takes place. Okay, now let me understood, or let me explain you the structure of the ovule. Okay, this is the structure of the ovule. This is the structure of the ovule. It is a very simple structure, very easy to draw also. Let me explain you in the easy way. Like this you can draw it. Then two integuments you will make, and here 1, 2. This is only the simple structure of the ovule. It is very easy to make it. Okay, now here the first one, you can see this stem like structure. It is called hilum. It is the part that attach ovary, this ovule to the ovary. This is called hilum. After that you can see here the structure, this one. This is called the funicle. What do we call it? Funicle. It is attachment of the ovule with the hilum. Okay, now you can see this opening, means the open part. This is the micropylon end through which the pollen grain will enter inside it. It means the male gamete will enter. Then you can see here the two coverings are there, 1 and 2. These are the integuments. The outer one is the outer integument and the inner one is the inner integument. These two coverings are to protect it. These are for the protection. Okay, these protect our nucellus. Nucellus, this center part is our nucellus. This part is useful for this part is the part where the embryo sac formation takes place. Understood? The part that is being open here the funicle is being added. It is a micropylon end, and just opposite to it is the integument part, and it is called the Chialza pole. Understood? One very important thing you can identify here, from where the integuments formation takes place. From where the integuments formation takes place. This is the Chialza part. Is it clear? You can identify here what is the Chialza part or the micropylon part. They are both just opposite to one another. The part from where the integuments formation is being taking place, this part is called the Chialza part, and just opposite to it is the micropylon end. Okay, now this is our pistil. Understood? This is our pistil part. Now the next we will study in this the megasporogenesis. Okay, megasporogenesis, I told you, it is the process of formation of megaspore from the megaspore mother cell. Okay, that process is called megasporogenesis. In pollen grain formation, I told you the microsporogenesis. Microsporogenesis was the formation of microspore from the microspore mother cell. In the same way, the megasporogenesis is the formation of the megaspore from the megaspore mother cell. Now, megaspore mother cell, first of all, will go the mitosis division. Mitosis, you remember, I told we discussed it in the class 11th also. Mitosis, from where the cell divides into 4, means a single cell divides into 2 and 2 into 4 like this. Okay, this is the mitotic division. First of all, megaspore mother cell will go through the mitotic division, and in this process it will form the 4 megaspores. गेटिंग फ्रॉम दीज 4 मेगास्पोर्स, यहाँ पर जो 4 मेगास्पोर बन रहे हैं, फ्रॉम दीज 4 मेगास्पोर्स द 3 मेगास्पोर्स विल डीजेनरेट एंड ओनली द 1 इज फंक्शनल. डीजेनरेट will provide the nutrition to the functional one. Okay, and here is only the 1 functional, and this functional megaspore will only responsible for the formation of the female gamete. Getting this here, first of all the megaspore mother cell will undergo the mitosis division, and in this mitotic division they will form 4 megaspores, and these from these 4 megaspores the 1 is functional and the 3 will degenerate. Okay, the 1 functional will only responsible for the formation of the female gametophyte, and the formation of the female gametophyte from this functional megaspore, this process will called megasporic development. Okay, this is the definition, can come in exams for 1 marks. What is megasporic development? The megasporic development is the development of the megaspore from the 1 functional functional megaspore. The formation of the female gamete is only known as megasporic development. Is it clear? Now the third part, pistil we already discussed here, megasporogenesis also discussed. Now the third one is embryosec formation. Now in this embryosec formation, let me clear you first. We already formed the female gametophyte. Female gametophyte will have its own 1 nucleus. 1 functional nucleus will be there, functional megaspore will be there. This functional megaspore will go through the mitotic division. Understood? After going through the mitotic division, it will form 2 nuclei. Again it will go through the mitotic division, it will form 4 nuclei. Then again it will go through the mitotic division, it will form 8 nuclei. It is such like this. Here it is that first of all here there are the 2 cells. Okay, then first of all there are the cells. ठीक है, 1 cell is there, 1 nucleus will undergo the mitotic division, it will form 2. Then 2 again will go to the mitotic division, it will form 4. Is it clear? Then 4 again will go through the mitotic division, it will form 8. Is it clear? 1 will undergo mitotic division to form 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. Now the 8 cells are being formed. Is it clear? How many cells are being formed here? 8. Now from these 8 cells, the 3 will move on one side and 3 on the other side. Okay, and the 2 will remain in the center. The center part, the central cell are called the polar nuclei. In the center we have the 2 nuclei. These central cell are called the polar nuclei. One side are called antipedal cells and the other one sides are called the synegrates. Okay, the other side we call it synegrates. Understood? Let me reverse the diagram like this. Okay, this part I am showing here and this I am showing it here. Understood? Now from these 3 synegrates, means on the Chelsea end we have the 3 cells, 1, 2, 3. From the 3, 2 are synegrates and 1 is the egg cell. You can see here also 2 are synegrates and 1 is egg cell. Synegrates degenerate to provide the nutrition to the egg cell, and egg cell is where the female gamete formation will takes place. Understood? After this, on the other side we have the Chelsea end, and the 3 are the antipodal cells that provide the nutrition, and in the center we have the 2 polar nuclei. Understood? Now count here how many cells are there. 1, 2, 3 cells are here. 1, 2, 3. How many are? 6, and 1 in the center means 7. But the nucleus are 8. 1, 2. Here it is the single cell, but it is having the 2 nucleus. Understood? In this way we call it the 7 cell. 7 cell it is here and 8 nuclei. Is it clear? Let me clear you with this diagram. Here it is. First of all, there is the 1 nucleus in megaspore. It will divide mitotically, will form 2. Then 2 will divide again mitotically, will form 4. Then 4 will again divide mitotically, will form 8. From the 8, 3 will move on one end, 3 on the other end. Okay? And 2 in the center. The 2 in the center are called the polar nuclei. The center one are called the polar nuclei. The three on one end are surrounded by the cell wall. From these three, one is the egg cell and two are syningrates, and the rest three are on the Chelsa end, and which on the Chelsa end are called the antipodal. Okay, now let me show you the diagram. 1 divided into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. From 8, 3 on one side, 3 on one side, 2 in the center. The center are called the center nuclei, and center cell will have the 2 nuclei. Here 2 are syningrates and 1 is egg. Egg will form the female gamete. Syningrates will degenerate to provide the nutrition, and 3 are the antipodals. Okay, it will show the diagram like this. Now here I can show you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here the 7 cell are there. The nucleus are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 nucleus are there. Okay, that's why this is called the 7 cell 8 nucleate state. It is a very important question from the board exam purpose. It mainly comes in the exams. Okay, thank you. Rest for this next in the other class. Hello students. Yes, we are doing the chapter sexual reproduction in flowering plant. In the last 2 videos of the same chapter, we discussed about the flower, the formation of the male gamete, means pollen grain formation. Okay, the formation of the female gamete means egg formation, embryo sac formation, and these all are the events of the pre-fertilization. Now we are doing the last topic of the pre-fertilization, that is pollination. With this topic we will complete our pre-fertilization, and then in the other one we will start fertilization. Okay, so the pollination, you all know about the pollination. From the class 10th you are studying that pollination means the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. We call it pollination. Okay, now the pollination is of 2 types, the self pollination and the cross pollination. If the pollination is in between the same flowers, then we call it the self pollination, and if it is between the different plants or the different flowers, then we call it cross pollination. You all know it. Okay, now we have the kinds of pollination. We have mainly the 3 kinds of the pollination. The 3 types of the pollination is autogamy, geitonogamy and xenogamy. So the first 2 are the self-pollination, and the last one, xenogamy, is the cross-pollination. We have the 3 types of the pollination: autogamy, then the second one is the geitonogamy, and the third one is the xenogamy. Okay. So the first one, autogamy. Autogamy is the pollination in which the pollen grains will transfer from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. Means the plant and the flower will be the same. Then we call it autogamy. Then it means it is a complete self-pollination. Okay. Now autogamy is of 2 types: clistogamous and chesmogamous. Chesmogamous, it is a type of autogamy in which the flower is closed. Flower means the flower is completely closed. It means that the anther and the stigma are not exposed, and if the anther and the stigma are not exposed, then it means there will be no chances of the cross pollination. There will be the only self pollination. Now the next one is the chesmogamous. Chesmogamous means the flower, when the anther and the stigma are mature, then they are exposed to the pollinating agent. Pollinating agent means that carry the pollen grain from one place to another. So autogamy, I told you, it is when the pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. We have it 2 types, chesmogamous and the clistogamous. If the flower is closed, then it is clistogamous, it is completely autogamy, and chesmogamous when the flower is the anther and the stigma of the flower, mature anther and the stigma of the flower are being exposed to the pollinating agent. Pollinating agent means insect, wind, air, so that they can carry the pollen grain from one place to another. This is the autogamy. Now the next one, it is the geitonogamy. Geitonogamy means the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same plant but not the same flower. Okay, in autogamy it was the flower was also the same, but in geitonogamy the flower is different. the flower is different but the plant is same, means they are genetically similar. Okay, this type of the pollination is called geitonogamy. And the third one, that is xenogamy. It is a type of completely cross pollination, because in this the pollen grains are transferred from the anther to the stigma of the different flower. Different plant, it is completely the different plant. If the plant is different, so it means that they are genetically different. It means here in both the case the plants are different, but here the plant is genetically similar, but here it is the genetically different. Now we will discuss the agents of pollination. Agents means the source through which the pollen grain will be transferred from one place to another, that are called the agents of pollination. So there are the three agents of the pollination: air, wind and water. So the first one, it is the wind. Wind pollination, we also call it anemophily. Anemophily means wind pollination. In the case if the flower has to be pollinated by the wind, then it should have the following features. The first one, the pollen should be the very light and dry, so that it can be easily carried from one place to another. The flower should be small and colorless and odorless. Clear? So that no insects can come on it. Now the next one is anther. Anther should have the long filament, so that it can be carried with the air very easily. And the third one is a stigma. Stigma should be the sticky, so that the pollen grains that are coming to it can be stick or pasted on it very easily. Okay, so these are the properties which we need for the wind pollination. Now the next one, the pollination with the water. Water means the water will carry the pollen grains from one place to another. We also call it hydrophily. Hydrophily, in this case we also have some special features in the flowers, that the flower should be the small, so that it can be moved easily from one place to another. Colorless, odorless and nectarless, means it should not have any smell also. Then the next one, the stigma should be long and sticky. Okay, now the last type of the pollination is the pollination by the insects. We also call it entomophily. In this case the flower should be the very attractive, good fragrance should be it have, and very rich in nectar. So all these are the agents of the pollination. So the last topic for the pre-fertilization is the pollen pistil interaction. Pollen pistil interaction means the interaction of the pollen grains with the pistil. This is called pollen pistil interaction. Means the pollen grain will come to the stigma. If it is of the same type, then stigma will accept it and will still carry the formation of the pollen tube. If it is of the other type, or if it is not the compatible, then it will reject it and it will not lead to the formation of the pollen tube. This is called the pollen pistil interaction. Means the ability of the stigma, means it is the ability of this stigma to recognize that the pollen grain is compatible to it or not. This is all about the pre-fertilization part of this chapter. Now in the next video we will start with the fertilization. Thank you. Hello students, in the previous classes we started the chapter sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and we already discussed in these classes the structure of the flower, male gamete formation, means embryo, this male gamete formation, pollen grains formation, and female gamete formation, structure of ovule we already had discussed, and we discussed here the pollination also. These all are the events that are related to the pre-fertilization, means the process before the fertilization. Now one more topic, means that one very important topic is also left, that is with before starting with the fertilization, the one more important topic is also left, that is outbreeding device, and it is very important topic. It mainly comes in the exam for the 3 marks. So today we will discuss it first. Okay, now what are outbreeding devices? Outbreeding devices means, let me clear you first. Breeding means crossing, understood? Means the at the time of the crossing, when the male and the female gamete are being crossed, that is called breeding. Now if the pollination means the crossing is between the same type of the flower, then it is called the self pollination. And outbreeding means the cross pollination. Is it clear? Before getting through the outbreeding word, get through the inbreeding word. Inbreeding means, in means inside, breeding pollination. means the pollination between the same flower. Understood? If it is the pollination between the different flowers, or we can say the different plants, then we call it cross pollination, and cross pollination means outbreeding. Okay, now there are the problems, means if the plants are continuously doing the self pollination, then through the many generations, then the plants, there will be the very less chances of the variation. Is it clear? Means if the plant is going through the inbreeding, means self pollination for the number of generation, then there is very less chances of the pollination, no, sorry, very less chances of variation. And variation, if there is very less chances of the variation, then one day the circumstances will come that the stigma will not able to accept its own pollen grain. Understood? In this condition, the plants will get to the depression, and this is called inbreeding depression. Is it clear? Let me clear you once again. अगर बहुत दिन तक सेल्फ पॉलिनेशन होता रहेगा तो प्लांट जो है वो अपने ही पॉलन ग्रेन को एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाएगा और उसमें वेरिएशंस नहीं आएंगी. अगर वेरिएशंस नहीं आएंगी तो धीरे धीरे प्लांट जो है वो कोई भी पॉलन ग्रेन नहीं एक्सेप्ट कर पाएगा, और उस सिचुएशन को बोलते हैं हम इनब्रीडिंग डिप्रेशन. ओके, नाउ टू fight with this type of the situation, or to outcome from these type of the situations, plants develop many devices, means the plants adjust itself in the various ways so that it can encourage the cross pollination and discourage the self pollination, means it can promote the cross pollination and it can stop the self pollination. Is it clear? For this we have the number of the devices. The first one is decline. Decline means we are not giving any device especially to them. Plants are developing these all device by itself. Okay, the first one is decline. Decline means unisexual. Unisexual means if the plant is having only the single type of the flower. Understood? If the plant is having only the single type of the flower, then there will be the no chances of the self pollination. There is only the chance of the cross pollination. Is it clear? This is the first type. Understood? If the plant is having only one type of the flower, male flower or the female flower. Understood? Now the second one is dichogamy. Dichogamy means when the male parts mature at different types, means if the first the male part is being getting mature and the female is not mature, so in the mature female part will get the get be fertilized with the other plant. Okay, in the same way, if the female plant is getting female part of the flower is getting mature and the male is not mature, okay, means male is not until now the pollen grains are not been developed in the male part, then female part will get the pollen grains from the other plant. This is also the second type of the device which promotes the cross pollination. Understood? The third one is propotency. Propotency means plants develop the potential in itself only. Okay, the plants develop the potential in itself only to accept the foreign pollen grain in comparison to the its own pollen grain. For example, it is the stigma. Clear? It is the stigma, and plant is getting two types of the pollen grain. It is the self pollen and it is the foreign pollen. So the plant is having the competency, means it has the capability to accept the foreign pollen grain in comparison to its own pollen grain. This is called propotency. Understood? The next one is heterostyly. Heterostyly means the plant is having the different length of the stigma and the stamen. Okay, for example, it is the female part and it is a male part. Both are having the different length. Okay, if they both are having the different length, then there will be the very less chances of the self pollination. There will be the cross pollination only. Is it clear? The next one is self incompatibility. Self incompatibility means when the plant create the gene repulsion. Gene repulsion means its own genes are not being able to carry its own pollen grain. Clear? Means when they are of the same type of the genes are creating repulsion. Means if the plant is getting the same type of the gene from variation generation after generation, then it creates a repulsion. Repulsion means they will not accept that pollen grain, or it will not get stigma will not allow to form the pollen tube. This is called self incompatibility. Understood? These all are the methods through which we can stop the cross pollination in self pollination, and we can enhance, means we can promote the cross pollination. Is it clear? Hello students, in the previous class we were discussing the outbreeding devices. I think all are clear to you now. Now there is one more important topic that is related to our syllabus before starting the fertilization, and that is artificial hybridization. Artificial hybridization means it is the method, completely human made method, means it means the completely there is the human beings involvement, and its involvement is for the improvement of the crops. For improvement of the crops means if there is continuously the self pollination, so there will be no developed variety of the crops we will get. Clear? So the plants are so the human beings involved in the process of the fertilization, so that they can get the desired quality in their crops. Understood? And for getting the desired quality in their crops, they do the manipulations, or they do the changes at the time of the fertilization, before the fertilization or after the fertilization, so that they can get the desired characters in their crops. Understood? So for this getting the desired character, we have one technique that is used called artificial hybridization. Hybridization means different characters are being mixed together to get the new character. That is called hybridization. And when this process getting naturally, then it will be natural process, but the human involvement is there completely, so we call it the artificial hybridization. Okay, and it is mainly the purpose of artificial hybridization is to get the superior variety of the crop. Means superior means the best variety of the crop. This is the purpose of the artificial hybridization. Understood? Now first of all, let me clear you that it is completely the human made process in which we are getting the improvement of the crops, and for the improvement of the crops is to get the desired varieties. And one more important thing is to protect the pollen grain for contamination with the unwanted pollen grains. Means if we need any character in the plants, and we need only the desired character, so we will protect our plant so that the unwanted pollen grain should not enter on the stigma, so that it can get the different characters. Understood? For this we are using the two techniques. Two methods or the two processes are being used which help us in this artificial hybridization. The first process is emasculation. Emasculation means when the flower is bisexual. Understood? The flower is bisexual. Bisexual means the male and the female part are both present on the same flower. Now in that case there is more chances of the self pollination. Now to avoid the self pollination, with the help of the forceps, okay, with the help of the forceps we will remove the anther. Okay, and it is made very clear that before removing the anther, it should be made clear that the anther should not be completely developed. Means pollen grains should not be developed. Understood? Before the dehiscence, I think the dehiscence word you remember, I explained you in the class. The dehiscence means the pollen grains when burst out. And clear? When the pollen sac is being burst out to get out the pollen grains is called dehiscence. So before the getting the dehiscence, the pollen anther is being removed from the plant, and this anther is being removed from the plant with the help of the forceps. Clear? This process is called emasculation. Is it clear? Means the flower is bisexual, and in that bisexual flower we are having the male and the female parts both. So the male part pollen grains should not enter on the female part, and before getting the mature the male part is being removed from the flower with the help of the forceps. Clear? This is called emasculation. Now the flower is having only the female part. Understood? Now the next one is bagging. Bagging technique means once the emasculation is being completed, Understood? Now after completing the emasculation, we will get the desired variety of the pollen grains, and that desired variety of the pollen grains, desired means the which we want that the character should be shown, and the desired varieties of the pollen grain should be dust on the stigma. Clear? And after dusting the desired variety of pollen grains on the stigma, then the plant is being covered with the butter paper or the polythene. Understood? So that the different pollen grains should not be, undesired pollen grains should not come on the stigma, and this will create the plant to develop the desired characters, and unwanted characters should not come on the plant. Understood? Now when baked flower will attain receptivity, receptivity means that they means they are able to receive the pollen grain at the time they are being covered. Understood? And in this process we will, after dusting, clear, first we will cover the bag, cover the plant with the butter paper or the polythene bag. Then after the stigma has been mature, we will remove the cover, we will dust the desired pollen grain on it, and after dusting the desired pollen grain on it, we will rebag the plant. Clear? We will rebag the plant to develop the protection from the to protect the plant protection from the contamination. Understood? This is process called bagging. So these are the two methods through which we can do the artificial hybridization. Thank you. Previous classes we completed our pre-reproduction process. Now in this class we will do the fertilization, means the process when in the previous classes we were doing the formation of the male and the female gamete. Now here the male and the female gamete are now completely formed. Now there will be the fusion of the male and female gamete. We know that the fusion of the male and the female gamete is called fertilization. Here the fertilization process is being going in the plants unisexual flower. Bisexual flower, the process of the fertilization is getting 2 times. So we call it the double fertilization. First let me clear you this type of diagram you also seen in the class 10, that it is the our female part. Understood? In female part it is the our stem, this carpel, and in the carpel we have the 3 parts, the stigma, style and the ovary. We know that the uppermost part, that is the stigma, it is the part to receive the pollen grain. It is our pollen grain. Now when the plant is receiving the pollen grain, after receiving the pollen grain, it will, after observing the sugary substances or the chemical substances, it will start forming the tube like structure through the style, means it is a style portion, and through the style it will form the tube like structure. This tube like structure is called the pollen tube. We have this pollen tube. Now when the male when the pollen grain gamete will enter inside the pollen tube, this will through the mitotic division it will divide into 2, means we will here in the pollen tube only getting the 2 male gametes. Now after getting the 2 male gametes, when I was describing the structure of the ovule, I shown you there that it is the cells. You might have been remember I told you the 7 cell 8 nucleus stage, and there's the 2 cells, these are synagrates, and this is the egg cell. In the center we have the polar nuclei, on the other side we have antipodal cells. Okay, now the first male gamete will enter inside. The first male gamete will fuse with the egg. After fusing, means the first male gamete after fusing with the egg, it will form zygote. Understood? The first male gamete, we have the 2 male gametes in the pollen tube. We have the 2 male gametes in the pollen tube. From these 2 male gametes, the first one male gamete will enter inside this ovule. So the first male gamete firstly will fuse with the egg cell, and after fusing with the egg cell, it will form the zygote. Then the second male gamete will enter inside. It will fuse with the polar nuclei. We have the 2 nucleus in the center, and the second male gamete will enter and fuse with the polar nuclei. It is getting into 3. Clear? After getting into 3, it will be showing the triple fusion, means the 3 gametes have been forming here. Understood? So the first male gamete will fusing with the egg cell, and it will form the zygote, and the second male gamete when enter inside, it will fuse with the polar nuclei. Two already we have here, one will come, then it will be three. Now it is called triple fusion. Understood? Means here it is getting triploid. Is it clear or not? Now the triploid is getting, and after getting triploid, it is forming the three cells, means triploid primary endosperm nucleus. Means three endosperm nucleus will be formed here, primary endosperm nucleus, and these all three endosperm nucleus are haploid, and zygote is diploid. We are getting through the syngamy zygote. Zygote is our diploid stage, means the zygote forming is diploid, and here polar nuclei that are forming three, all three are haploid. Is it clear? Now I want to make you very clear that the first male gamete when enter and fuse with the egg cell, this type of the fusion is called the generative fusion, means generative fertilization. Understood? And when the second male gamete will getting inside with and fusing with the polar nuclei, it is getting triploid, and this type of fusion is called the vegetative fertilization. Is it clear? Now let me clear you once again. We have the two male gametes. The first male gamete moves towards the egg cell, and it will fuse with the egg cell and form here the zygote. The zygote is diploid, and this process we call syngamy. Is it clear? And this type of fertilization is the generative fertilization, and in this generative fertilization we are getting zygote, which further at the time of development it develops into an embryo. ठीक, this is for the first male gamete. Now the second male gamete, see, second male gamete will move towards the polar nuclei. It means it directly move towards the center, and here at the center it will fuse with the center cell, and after fusing with the center cell it will form triploid primary endosperm nucleus, yani PEN. Got it? Here three are been forming, three nuclei are been forming, and these all three nuclei are haploid. Clear? And we call this type of fusion triple fusion, and this type of fertilization is the vegetative fertilization. Understood? Here the zygote at the time of the development develops into embryo, and here the primary endosperm nucleus at the time of the development will develop into endosperm. In the single ovule only we are getting 2 times fertilization. That's why we call it double fertilization. Is it clear? Now in the new class or in the next class we will discuss the post fertilization events. Thank you. Hello students, we were doing the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and we already completed our pre-fertilization and the fertilization part. Now today in this class we are going to start with the post-fertilization, means what will happen after the fertilization process. Now we'll discuss here in the post-fertilization events what is going to be the changes are going to be shown in the plants after the fertilization. In this we will discuss the 4 important things. The first one is the endosperm, and the second is embryo formation, third seed formation, and the fourth one fruit formation. So in this, the first that I am going to start is endosperm. Now let me clear you for the first what is endosperm. We have we have the 2 male gametes. You might have remembered the diagram of the ovule, and I told you that after the fertilization the 2 male gametes have been formed, and from the one male gamete the first male gamete will enter inside, and it will fuse with the egg cell. You might have remembered it was a diagram like this, and we have the 3 here antipodal cells like this, and here the 2 synegrates and 1 egg cell, and in this the center we have the polar nuclei. Now I told you that when the first male gamete will enter, then it will fuse with the egg cell and to form the zygote. So the first male gamete will enter and fuse with the egg, and it will form zygote. Okay, now it will form here zygote. So the process of formation of zygote by fusing first male gamete with the egg is called fertilization. Now the second male gamete that will enter inside will fuse with this polar nuclei. We already have the two nuclei here, and this the when the egg cell, that means the second male gamete will enter here, then it will fuse with this polar nuclei, and it will form the primary endosperm, yani PEN, primary endosperm nucleus will be formed. This process is called triple fusion. Now this primary endosperm nucleus that is in the center will develop to form the endosperm. Got it? Now this endosperm will provide the nutrition. This embryo means the zygote, developing zygote is been getting the nutrition with the endosperm only. So the development of the endosperm is the first process in the development of the zygote. So we'll leave zygote here only. First we'll discuss endosperm. Now I told you there is the two types of the male gamete enter. The first male gamete with the zygote is the generative fertilization, and the second male gamete that is fusing with the polar nuclei, it is the vegetative fertilization. So make it very clear that the endosperm formation is with the vegetative fertilization, and here it is forming the PN, primary endosperm nucleus. Now what will happen? Firstly, this primary endosperm nucleus will start the division. We call it the nuclear division. Understood? Means the primary endosperm nucleus will start the division again and again, means it will divide repeatedly to form the triploid endosperm. This is called the nuclear division. After this triploid nuclear endosperm will start forming the cell wall at the periphery, means at the boundary it will start forming the cell wall, and this is called cell wall formation. It is the second phase of the endosperm formation. Now the third, it is that when the cell wall is completely formed, then there will be the thousands of the free nuclei will be scattered in the center. This is called halobial situation. Means we have the three phases of the endosperm formation. The first, the primary endosperm nucleus will start dividing, and repeatedly dividing, it will form the triploid endosperm. It is called the nuclear division. Then in the second phase, the cell wall will start forming. This is called cell wall formation. And when the cell wall is formation is being completed, then the third phase will start. It means it will start forming the thousands of the nuclei in the center. Let me clear you with the help of the coconut example. You have seen the coconut. There is the hard part of the coconut outside. That hard part is the nuclear part. Then after this, the center part, middle part, which is edible part, white, you can see the white part, edible part, that is the cellular part, it was soft. And then the third part in the center, it is the water filled in the coconut. This water is a thousands of the free nuclei. Got it? This is the endosperm. Now I will tell you the second phase, that is embryo formation. Now we were discussing here this in this diagram. I told you that firstly with the we will take care endosperm, we were doing in the endosperm the primary cell, means the triploid fusion will be done. But now in embryo we will take care the zygote. Now you know that the zygote is present at the micropylar end. Clear? We have the two ends, micropylar and the this antipodal end. At the micropylar end we have the zygote. Now this zygote firstly will start dividing, and it will divide into two unequal parts. Means two unequal parts will be there. The upper one is the suspensor and the lower one is embryo. Means the larger part is the suspensor and the smaller part is being embryo. Firstly the division of the suspensor will start. Suspensor will divide into 6 to 10 cells, and this will form the suspensor. Means the long tube suspensor will form. After this division of the suspensor is been completed, then the embryo start dividing. The embryo will divide into 2 tiered then 8 cells. Means firstly it will divide into 2 forms, means 4 will be formed, then 8, like this, and it will form a small circular structure below, that is globular embryo. Understood? Now this globular embryo start further division, and it will form the heart shaped structure, and this is called heart shaped embryo. After this heart shaped embryo finally develops into the mature embryo. Now this is like, make it very clear. Firstly it was the pro embryo, means the development of the embryo. Then the second stage is the globular embryo, and the third stage is the heart-shaped embryo, and finally the mature embryo will be formed. Now mature embryo will have the two cotyledons, and the upper side it will have the radicle. It is the diagram of the embryo of the dicot. Now it is the monocot diagram. In monocot we have only the one cotyledon, and that cotyledon is called scutellum. Understood? And at the lower side we have the radicle covered with the root cap and coloresia, and the upper side we have the shoot apex covered with the coleoptile. It is all about the development of the embryo. Rest we will discuss in the other class. Thank you. Hello students. In the previous class we started post fertilization events, and we already discussed the two events of the post fertilization, means endosperm and embryo formation. Now we'll start with the third part, or you can say the third step of the post fertilization, that is the seed. So in this video we are going to discuss here the third and the fourth part, that is seed formation and the fruit formation. Now let me clear you the first thing. Seed is the final product of the sexual reproduction. You all know it. Now let me clear you seed with the help of the example of ovule. You might have been remember the structure of the ovule. You were having the ovule structure like this. The two integuments are there, the outer integument and the inner integument. Now here the two integuments were there before they are said to be integuments. Now integuments used to form the seed coat, means outer covering of the seed. It was the structure of the ovule. Clear? In the ovule structure there were the two integuments, outer integument and inner integument. These integuments used to form the seed coat. Now let me clear you, the outer integument will form the testa of the seed coat, and the inner integument will going to form the tegmen. Now after this you were having the two parts, one is micropylar part and the other one is the chelsea part. Now here the micropylar part will have the small pore like structure, means the micropyle will form the small pore like structure, that is called seed pore. Seed pore, it is a very important part because it will provide the developing embryo the nutrition. Through this only the oxygen or the nutrition will be enter inside the seed. The next we will have in the center ovule. Clear? Ovule will form the seed here, and after outside the ovule we have the ovary. Ovary will form the fruit. Now the wall of the ovary is forming the pericarp. This is all the structures that were present before in the ovule, and after this it is converted into the seeds in the after fertilization. Okay, now on the basis of the endosperm we have the two types of the seed, non-endospermic seeds and the endospermic seeds. Now in some of the seeds at the time of the development of the embryo, the endosperms are being completely utilized, that are being not remaining, then that type of the seeds are called non-endospermic seeds. Now in other seeds the endosperms remain persistent. Persistent means they are remaining after the fertilization, also after the development of embryo also. That types of the seeds are called endospermic seeds, or you can say the albuminous seeds. Now you all know on the basis of the cotyledons we have the two types of the seeds, the monocotyledons and dicotyledons. If the seed have only one cotyledon, then it is called monocotyledons. You can see in the diagram it is having the one cotyledon, so it is a monocotyledon seed. And if the seed is having the two cotyledons, then we call it the dicot seed. Now sometimes the seed at the time of the maturation, they stop all the activities, metabolic activities, slow down, and they enters the stage of inactivity, means they become inactive for some time. That stage is called dormancy. It is very useful stage because with this we can store the seeds for the future use. Now after this we'll discuss the next, it is pericarp. I told you that the wall of the ovary, ovary is going to be developed into the pericarp. Pericarp can be the hard also or fleshy also. You might have seen the guava. In the guava it is the very fleshy part, it is very soft part. So the wall of the ovary is forming the pericarp. In some fruits it is very hard, and some fruits it is very soft. Soft means fleshy. For example in guava, orange, it is the very soft part. Mango also it is soft, but in some fruits it is hard. For example groundnut. In groundnut, when you are opening the groundnut, you can see the hard covering on outside, that is called the pericarp. Now Here the pericarp, the wall of the ovary, develops into the wall of the fruit. Got it? Now after this we will start here the fruit formation. We have the two types of the fruit, true fruit and the false fruit. The fruit that is only and only utilizing ovary at the time of the development, that is called the true fruits. But in the fruits, when the other parts, for example thalamus and other parts of the flower is also being used at the time of the development of the fruit, then we call it false fruit. Now there is one important thing related to the fruit, that is the parthenocarpy. What is the parthenocarpy? You know that normally the fruits develop after the fertilization. When the seeds are being fertilized, it develops the fruits. But in some species the fruits develop without the fertilization also. That process of development of fruits without the fertilization is called the parthenocarpy, and that type of the fruits are called the parthenocarpic fruits. And make it very clear that the parthenocarpic fruits are the fruits that do not have the seeds, means the seedless fruit, for example banana. And we can promote the growth of these types of the fruits with the help of the growth hormones applying on it. Okay, now seeds are the very important part of the plant, and it is very useful for us because one thing, at the time of the pollination we need the seeds, at the time of the fertilization also the seeds are required. Seeds, different plant seeds have the different adaptations, so they can be dispersed from one place to another easily. Seeds have the large amount of the reserve food material which provide the nutrition to the developing seedlings before they are capable of the photosynthesis. Now one more important thing, that at the time of the sexual reproduction, seeds provide the variations because they are formed by the combination of the sexual reproduction. Now I discussed earlier also the dormancy stage. Mature seeds for some time goes for dormancy, and this is very beneficial because they can be stored for the future use. These all are the advantages of the seed. With this our topic is completed. Next we will discuss in other class. Hello students, today we will wind up our chapter that we are doing for the so many days, the sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So today we will wind up this chapter. Okay, now the last topic of your chapter is apomixis and polyembryony. Up till now so many topics we had covered and all the topics were important, but it is the very important topic because it surely come in the exam. And most important thing of this topic is that it is the direct topic, means it is the direct questions comes directly from this topic. Now the first I am going to start here apomixis. Apomixis, it is the kind of asexual reproduction which is being mimics, means it is been mixing itself with the sexual reproduction. We know that the reproduction is the sexual process. Clear? Means the male and the female gamete fuses together, then we call it sexual reproduction and it forms the embryo. This is the sexual reproduction. But here is the embryo is been forming but without the fusion of the male and the female gamete. So it is being seen like that it is a sexual reproduction, but normally it is not the sexual reproduction, it is asexual reproduction. Okay, now here what does the process occurs? Here the normal cells means the embryo sac, the nucellus, the integument, any part of the ovule can start forming the means it will start dividing itself and formation of the embryo starts. This is called the apomixis. We normally have the two type of the apomixis, recurrent and adventive. Okay, we have the two types of this. In this the first one is recurrent. We have the two types, apospory and diplospory. In apospory the ovule part, that is nucellus. Okay, in apospory the ovule part, that is nucellus, is start doing the mitosis process and forming the diploid embryo sac which is used in the formation of the embryo, that is called apospory. Now the diplospory means here we are using the nucellus, but here in diplospory the megaspore mother cell, means you remember we studied the megaspore mother cell. So the megaspore mother cell will be converted into diploid embryo sac, and finally finally the embryo will be formed. Got it? Now in apospory, nucellus was used. In diplospory, the megaspores were used. Okay. Now the adventive means any part of the ovule, intubement, nucellus, embryo sac, anything can be any part of the ovule can start doing the mitotic division or mitosis, and it will start forming the embryo. That is called the adventive embryony. Okay. Now next topic, it is also the very important topic, that is polyembryony. Polyembryony means the occurrence of more than one embryo in the seed. Normally in the seed we have only the one embryo, and if there is more than one embryo in the seed, then we call it polyembryony. Now this polyembryony was first introduced by the scientist Leeuwenhoek. You remember the name of the Leeuwenhoek we used earlier also. Now this is a process normally seen in the gymnosperm, the cycas, pinus like plants, but in some angiosperms also it is being seen. Very rare angiosperm you can see the orange and like the citrus fruits. In citrus fruits this can be more visible. Okay. Now it is also of the two types, simple and adventive. If there is been fertilization of more than one egg, then it is the simple, means एक से ज़्यादा egg fertilized होके then it is forming the embryo, then it is called the simple embryo polyembryony. But adventive means if in one embryo only the more than one spore buds are been forming, then it is called adventive. Got it? Now the next one, we can define the polyembryony into two parts also, the false polyembryony and true polyembryony. If many embryo arises from embryo sac, then it is false embryony. Okay. And if it is formation of more than one embryo in the one embryo sac only, okay, here we are using more than more means more embryo in more embryo sac, here the more embryo in the same embryo sac, then it is called the true polyembryony. Okay. Now what is the cause of this polyembryony? It is due to the cleavage of the proembryo, means the proembryo start doing the cleavage, or it develops from the other parts of the embryo sac, nucellus, intubement, any part of this embryo sac, and it is being formed by the embryo structure. Outside the embryo sac also is being involved in the process of the embryo, then the polyembryony occurs. This is all about this topic.